Okay, Cybus students, so the next tools we're going to look at in our basic intro to Illustrator are the hand drawing tools. So these are the tools where you can sort of specify and freehand draw things. And the first and simplest one is the pencil tool, which may or may not be hiding underneath the shaper tool, depending on our version of Illustrator. So go ahead and either select the pencil tool by holding down over here. You can also press N to get the pencil tool. And as we draw with the pencil tool, you can see we basically get this pixelated squiggly line, depending on whatever you end up drawing. And in this version, this may seem a lot closer to what you may or may not be used to in, say, Microsoft Paint. But you'll notice that when I'm done drawing and I let go, Illustrator will simplify this line. They will clean up all the curves and make it smoother. And you can see basically they do that with your anchor points, just like on any other shape. Now the second tool underneath the pencil tool is the smooth tool. And we can use that to draw over an existing shape or line that we have selected, and it will try to simplify that curve. So let's say I actually didn't want this hump here. I could say, hey, actually do this. And after enough times, I could actually reduce the number of anchors in it. You notice we've gone from like 6 or 7 to like 3. This makes it easier to edit, easier to move, simpler. And if you keep doing it enough, you can end up with a lot fewer to make this basically the same shape. The path eraser tool obviously lets me erase parts of a path. And the join tool lets me join parts that are overlapping, and it sort of switches which sides. So like if I draw a second line here and I select them, I can join here and it will get rid of the part I don't and attach this part to it. These lines are obviously the same as any other type of line we've made. They're just produced differently. We can still make them look like they were drawn with a marker, or we can still open up and find some different, maybe the bristle brushes here, some painting options, like they're done with a fancy brush, squiggles, stuff like that. Similar to the pencil tools is this brush tool here. And the paintbrush tool basically automatically assumes that well, mine's defaulting to here, but it automatically assumes that you're going to paint with some sort of effect from the get-go. And it'll just give you a nice thicker line. If we look at them in outline, we'll see they're still just straight lines. But effectively, it gives you a thicker version. What's important, though, is underneath the paintbrush is the blob brush tool. And I'm going to simplify my paintbrush here into just like a simple curved line here. And we're going to zoom in so we can see the difference between these two, because it's pretty important. So the paintbrush lets me draw lines like this. Okay? And the blob brush tool lets me draw lines like this. And they effectively look the same, but if we look at them in outline view, you'll immediately see the difference. The paintbrush tool draws a line and then runs a stroke along it, whereas the blob brush tool draws a line as the solid part, and you get an outline of it. And if we look here, this makes a difference because if I want to use my direct select tool and change this line, it will make an edit to the line. Whereas if I grab one of the many anchor points in my blob brush and move it, it will edit the solid bit. Something else to notice here is that color-wise here, it has a color set on its stroke, whereas the blob brush has a color set on its fill and has no stroke outline. It does allow you to do things like mix and match, though, if we wanted to put a red outline around our thick black stroke. So these are our hand drawing tools, the pencil tools and its editing tools, as well as the two different types of paintbrushes. Again, make sure you're comfortable with them, make sure you can get a feel for how they work, and possibly consider which type you would need for different types of projects.